The question is that this bill be now agreed to in principle. I call the member for Balcombe Hills.
Mr Acting Speaker, I rise in support of this legislation because, in my view, Mr Speaker, it makes for good law. Mr Acting Speaker, by way of background, I've had a fair bit of experience in the hospitality and liquor industry, having served as the Deputy CEO of the Australian Hotels Association and as Club Director of 2 major clubs in metropolitan Sydney. But, Mr Acting Speaker, I've also worked on the other side. I had 4 years as the operations manager of St John Ambulance, an important institution here in New South Wales, which is often called to public events and public activities to wrap up our and clean up the results of alcohol-related violence. Mr Speaker, I'll keep this brief because I know that there is other business for this chamber to consider. But this legislation is here to address alcohol-related violence. It is a level of violence that is unprecedented in New South Wales. It is a level of violence that is unprecedented right around the country. Australia is renowned for its high levels of consumption of alcohol. And in my view, Mr Speaker, if this legislation isn't introduced, that phenomenon will only increase, will only heighten. Mr Speaker, we need to address the antisocial behaviour that alcohol-related violence has presented here in New South Wales. Without this legislation, those levels of alcohol-fuelled violence, of that antisocial behaviour, will just continue. Someone needs to put a peg in the ground. This legislation will put that peg in the ground. This legislation will address the promises that have been made by the other side in their 16 years of administration that were never delivered. This legislation will allow those police that are on the beat 9 to 5 during the weekdays, but obviously on the Fridays and Saturday nights when our entertainment precincts are at their busiest. This will give them the ability and the authority that they've been asking for, they've been crying out for, to ensure those people that don't know how to have a good time without overindulgence are kept within the boundaries of what a polite society should be maintaining. It is a preventative approach. It is nothing more. Despite the scandal that you might hear from the other side of the chamber, who are suggesting that this is going to turn Australia into New South Wales into a police state, it is not the case. This is preventative medicine. It is like all the other preventative activities that this government is trying to introduce to ensure that we stop people from creating problems for themselves before indeed those problems exhibit and escalate. Mr Speaker, at the end of the day, when the police don't have these powers, the ambulance service has to clean it up. And I can tell you from my experience in that regard, the ambulance service have had a gutful of cleaning up the problems that our respective governments have not been able to address. How can it be bad law when we are giving a policeman who has been trained in New South Wales to deal with matters using their common sense? How can it be a bad law to ensure that we've given them the authority to stop this antisocial behaviour? And I commend the bill to the House.
The question is that this bill be agreed to in principle. I call the member for Wagga Wagga.
Mr Speaker, I move that this debate be now adjourned.
The question is that this debate be now adjourned. All of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. I call the Minister in the chair.
Mr.